Working from the inner power of stillness. Our work is dedicated to inspire you to practice, explore and interact from a place of no position, a point of convergence where conscious actions arise. Stillness can multiply itself indefinitely, provided our mind becomes genuinely attentive to that stillness for long enough, and to such an extent that it becomes as still as stillness itself. All ancient religions, philosophy, and mystic teachings are quintessentially based on the process of stilling. All other states, such as mindfulness, meditation, and higher states of consciousness, are nothing more than the different manifestations that naturally occur whilst inner stillness is increasing in depth and scale. This means we only happen to meet them for a glimpse of a moment, depending on the current ever-changing level of stillness within us at any given moment in time. Michael Jeffrey states that in order to best serve the moment, you have to be still long enough to hear what it is saying. Yet in order to best serve the moment, we first need to know and learn how to truly be in the moment. Additionally, we need to fully understand what pure being really is in relation to every other facet of our makeup. Knowing how to be in the moment means, therefore, that we have to be still long enough, and only then will we be able to hear what it is saying. The knowledge that possibly can lead us to this understanding takes us back to the ancient teachings of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Here, the second sutra says, yoga or yoking is to still the pattern of the mind. This can be achieved by gathering latent impressions, forming a very strong center of gravity once we have gone through a process that leads to 4 kinds of cognition, known as analytical thinking, insight, then bliss, followed by a feeling like a real inner self. Throughout this stilling process, our active mind gradually becomes passive, so that the pure self can be substantiated and experienced. During my own inquiry into the nature of the undivided self, I came to the realization that just like the unknown and the beyond, the self cannot be objectified, because the self purely is and simply exists as no thing. In other words, pure silence and stillness resemble the formless self. It actually comprises a depth of silence and stillness that is transcendental. It transcends opposites like multiplicity and unity, chaos opposed to harmony, as well as what we all experience as the world of duality. This leads us to the possible conclusion that the inner power of stillness is the gateway to the true nature of the self that ultimately gives rise to a genuine state of presence, mindfulness, and meditation. So, what does science bring to the table? Based on recent scientific research, the average attention span of a human being has dropped from 12 seconds in the year 2000 to 8.25 seconds in the year 2015. And this is due to the massive increase in stimuli and impressions that we are exposed to from mobile phones, tablets, and PCs. We therefore can't focus our attention long enough to even come close to the experience of deep inner stillness. For most of us, inner stillness has become merely an intellectual idea or concept because we are lacking the actual experience of it. Additionally, external stimulus continuously act on the amygdala and the hippocampus that form part of a greater system called the limbic system, where they are processed and distributed to other areas of the brain to be retained as short-term or long-term memory. And this memory we all carry exists in us in the form of intellectual, emotional, movement, and sensory memory. Its intrinsic nature is active, and it springs into action the moment it is stimulated and utilized. Unfortunately, most of this active memory is mechanical, which is we have a default response to the majority of the external stimuli we receive. So we now understand the great imbalance between our active memory in the form of movement, emotion, knowledge and instinct, and the possible imprints of the memory of stillness that is passive, of which the former so easily overrides the latter. Solutions. Tapping our inner power of stillness means our actions have to come directly from the self, both in our work as well as our interactions with others and our environment we live in. To the insightful person and practitioner of yogic disciplines, stillness gives rise to a conscious workspace and a truly natural state of presence. This is not a state that is generated from a place of doing or intending when we try to be present, mindful or still, or when we sit in meditation, desperately striving to achieve a state of calm. This kind of superimposed state can only be substantiated by limited willpower and vanishes the moment a stronger stimulus is asking for our attention. So, how do we reduce and neutralize the impact of the ever-increasing stimuli of external impressions? Simply by acquiring and developing memory of a completely different kind and quality that we call stillness memory. This stillness memory can be seen as a new modality that we choose to act and work from. This gives rise to a truly self-reflective practice, as well as actions that no longer take place at the expense of the self, but instead are informed by the inner power of stillness that continuously radiates from the innermost depths of our pure self. Such is the inner power of stillness. And on this philosophical note, nothing more needs to be said than this. What you are left with is worth contemplating deeply within yourself, in stillness and silence.